I'm here with Azana Baines, a graduate of Seton Hall. You're a graduate?
Yes,
Yeah, awesome. And as we're talking, you are in Spain.
yes.
Why? Why are you in Spain right now?
I'm starting my my first season of my professional career here in Spain.
Okay, and what's the team that you will be playing for?
Cari LaSalle,
And where is it? Like what part of
um,
Spain?
LaSalle, de
Hmm.
Urgel in Spain.
Okay, and why did you decide on that particular team and that particular country?
Um, so I talked it through with my agent because it was between playing here and in Greece, and just from his experiences, with his other players and stuff that he helped. Um, he said that Spain was the best opportunity for me and for my career, just getting it started.
Okay. And so during the WNBA draft and when training camps began, were you disappointed that you weren't a part of the WNBA teams? I mean, your senior year at Seton Hall, your stats
Hmm.
14.7 points, 6 rebounds, 80% from the line. Those are like serious numbers, right? They seem to
Yeah.
be worthy of some serious consideration. So, were there any talks with WNBA teams? And, well, what was your reaction to the fact that your name wasn't called during the draft or during the recruitment to training camps?
Um, it wasn't really too much of a downer for me personally, only because as long as I still had the opportunity to play professionally, whether that was for the WNBA or overseas, it was okay with me. And I kind of just figured that, this last year was like probably my best year out of all 5 years that I played collegiately. So, for me to get some more experience under my belt and be able to continue to, grow my game over here in Spain first. Who's to say that I don't get another opportunity to get a training camp contract or something like that, in this upcoming season or maybe 2, 3 years from now. I don't know. You really can't put a timestamp on it, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity, whether, like I said, whether it's in the States or it's overseas.
Yeah, and growing up in Blackwood, New Jersey, when you first picked up the basketball, did you envision that you were going to become a professional player? Probably not immediately, right? But can you like pinpoint a moment in which you thought, "Wow, I can do this for a living. I'm pretty good at this."
Yeah. Um, Honestly, I think since I started playing basketball, I instantly recognized that, this was something that I was extremely talented in. And it kind of just came naturally to me. Because I played a bunch of other sports as well, but it was kind of just a thing where it's like, oh, just to pass time, just to keep busy. But with basketball, I actually found love for the game. So that kind of would let me know like, okay, this is different from the rest of the sports that I've played. Um, and yeah, since then, I've always had people telling me like, because I played with guys a lot of the time up the street from my house at the basketball court. So people are always like, yeah, you're gonna make it to the big leagues, and stuff like that. So I think that was something that was always in the back of my mind. That was always a goal of mine.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask also. Like growing up in Blackwood population for like between 4 and 5,000, right? That's not a lot. Did
Hmm.
you find people who guided you through your the early stages of your career? So you
Yeah.
played with guys. So how did they approach you as a girl basketball player?
Um, I think naturally, just because being a girl playing with guys, you just have to earn their respect. But once you do get the respect, it kind of just goes on from there. The guys were always picking me up first to play with them and stuff like that once they realized like how good I actually was. And I think that's helped me a lot just as far as like my game and the confidence that I have when I play basketball, because you know, guys, they play with a lot of confidence. They naturally are like have a lot of pride and stuff like that when it comes to sports. So that's kind of something that I picked up on throughout the years. Um, and I think by the grace of God, He kind of just placed people in my life like naturally to just help take me to each level within my career. Um, Starting from, I want to say, like middle school, onto high school, onto college, I've always had somebody that was there to mentor me and like help guide me along the way.
And I want to stay with like the fact that you were playing with guys. So did it impact your game, the fact that you played with boys and then men? Like because their game is more physical, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Naturally. So would you consider yourself a more physical player because of that? Like you're not afraid to like bump into players and just, give an elbow or just push somebody.
yeah, for sure. Like you said, guys are they're stronger, naturally faster. So playing with them, like if you wanted to stay on the court, then you would have to learn to adjust to those things. So, and I think as I've gotten older and the stronger that I become, the faster I become, it was easier for me to be able to keep up with them, and it translated over into my game when I started playing with girls again.
And it's interesting that you started playing with guys because your household was dominated by women, right? By girls. I mean, you have
Yes,
6 sisters.
yeah.
So did you see? I mean, obviously they influenced you in a way, but did growing up with so many women also influence your basketball persona, kind of?
Um, I don't I don't know if it really impacted my basketball persona. I would think it's definitely impacted me just like as a human being, even just like outside of basketball.
Yeah.
A lot of who I am could be attributed to, my mom and my sisters and being around them my whole life. Yeah, so it's
And
different. Having that sisterhood and it just being sisters, it helps me to naturally be able to, create bonds and stuff like that with my teammates on the different teams that I played on.
yeah, and were your sisters also into sports?
Yeah, some of them. So I'm also a twin. But
Okay.
she was more into like cheerleading and stuff like that. She tried basketball, but it wasn't her thing. And I have my younger siblings, they've tried basketball too. It's kind of just something that they, do for fun to like stay in shape and stay out of trouble. But not really anything as serious or as far as I've taken basketball.
So we can say that you're the best basketball player in the family.
For
Probably.
sure.
Yeah, okay. Uh, and so who was the person that got you into basketball? Because the usual story is I was tall, there was a coach, and sort
Right.
of they invited me to practice the sport, and I just fell in love with it. Was it the same with you?
Um, no, it was actually my bonus father. So he like I said, I played many sports before basketball. Basketball was actually the last sport that I tried playing.
Mhm.
But he was so into sports himself because he played a lot of sports growing up, and so he would like sign us up into like clubs that were happening around the community and stuff like that. Make sure that we played on the teams with our schools if we could. And so I think the start of my basketball career really goes to him, honestly.
And he was taking you to games, probably, right? And just
Yes,
your
yes,
first fan, I guess, as
exactly.
well.
Yes,
Awesome, awesome. And you went to I'm I'm inclined to pronounce it like a British pronunciation of your school, so it's Gloucester.
yes,
Okay, so it's the British pronunciation, Gloucester Catholic, and it's a private school.
yes.
Yes. So The fact that you went from a private school and then you actually went to Duke, which is
Hmm.
also private, is sort
Right.
of interesting. So, did you feel sort of sheltered? You know what I mean, right? Because
Hmm.
there's differences in how students are treated by teachers when it
Hmm.
comes to like the respect that they get in private schools as
Right.
opposed to public schools. So did you feel kind of that you were in a sheltered environment because of that?
Um, I would say, yeah, I could say that. Yeah. Because I went to a public school before I went
Mhm.
to Gloucester Catholic. So it was definitely a difference as far as, like being sheltered is considered. But yeah, I would say that there was like a sense of sheltering in that.
And this was it a good thing or a bad thing? Like looking now from like your perspective, a couple of years later.
No, I think it was a good thing because in public school, is not as much of that. Is kind I would say it's a little more like freedom, if you want to say. But with a Catholic school or like with a private school, there's a certain like, like standard that they want to uphold. There's certain things that they live by and that they go by. So, and it's mandatory that the students kind of like follow those things. So,
Yeah, it's not like, but because people have the assumption that it's like you're paying and that's it,
mhm.
right? You don't have to do
Right,
anything, which is not the case, right? The
right,
expectations are sometimes higher.
yeah,
Yeah, and I was going through the scouting reports from high
hmm,
school, and all of them basically stress your athleticism, that you're an athletic player first.
hmm.
Do you think that it's like it was short selling or underselling your abilities as a basketball player? When we're thinking about stats, you shot like 50% from the free, which is, well, you need some sort of athleticism to achieve that, but it's not like an ability that people connect with athleticism all that much. So
Um,
yeah.
I would say I would say that for that point in my basketball career, it was the right thing to, it was the right way to describe my game because I was somebody who was really good at driving to the basket, like blowing by my defender, somebody who had a quick first step or somebody who could rebound really well. So I think that's a lot of where like the athleticism part comes from. And I think that the my 3-point shot and even just like my mid-range game, I think those are things that I've worked on like over the years since like high school and stuff like that, where I've really grown my game in those parts. So I think that yeah, it was right for that point in my career, but it's definitely expanded way past that now.
Yeah, and you were a four-star recruit actually, and you were recruited by a bunch of schools, right? Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Miami, but you ultimately decided on Duke. So what was it about Duke that convinced you to join that particular college?
Um, I think just the culture in general of just like the university, and the standard that they held like their players or even just like their regular students too. It was something that was definitely that I thought would challenge me for sure. Just as far as growing up because being a freshman in college, you're new to the whole aspect of like living on your own now, not creating your own schedule, but like time management, stuff like that. So yeah, I think it was a good situation for me as far as that.
Okay, but you transferred after a year.
Hmm.
May I ask why?
Sure, yeah. I kind of just needed a better situation for basketball. That's as best as I could put it.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you moved to Virginia Tech, right? Uh, why Virginia Tech? Again, the same question. Why this university and why not?
Hmm. Well, originally before I decided to go with Duke, it was between Duke and Virginia Tech. So, and once I decided to leave Duke, you know, they were still on my radar, still trying to recruit me to come there. So it was kind of just like it wasn't even a thought put into it, honestly. I kind of just knew like that was where I was going to go after.
Okay. And you couldn't immediately join the team. You had to wait like 7 games
Yes.
for your waiver to be approved. Uh, what did you do during that time, and what was your mindset during that time? Was there ever a moment when you thought that maybe I've made a mistake and I shouldn't come here, or just any doubts crept in?
No, I wouldn't say any doubts crept in. But I would say that it was a struggle. Having to sit out for those 7 games, having to sit back and, you know, just play the bench and watch. But I think that it helped me a lot, as far as like just helping me to see what it looks like, to see what the games look like, to see the preparation and stuff that goes into it, before I was actually having to be a part of that after I sat those 7 games. Um, but yeah, I think I during that time I kind of just stayed in the gym, tried to work out, keep up with my game as much as I could, tried to pay as close to attention I could in practice and stuff so that I wasn't falling, you know, behind by the time I got into the games with them.
So you were allowed to be with the team, just you couldn't play.
Right.
Okay. Because I thought that maybe you weren't even allowed to like practice because of the rules. Okay, that's
No.
cool. Okay, yeah, okay. And 2 years later, again, you're on the move, this time to Seton Hall. And
hmm
again, why?
Um, First, my main reason was being closer to home. Seton Hall was about an hour and a half drive from my house. And during that time, it was a lot going on with my family. My twin sister, she had gotten to a bad car accident, and you know, it was just a lot of things going on with my family, and they needed me to be there. So I was like, you know, that's the perfect school, perfect opportunity for me. And then even just basketball wise, they were looking for me to come in there and kind of just like not take over, but you know, be of instant impact to the team. And that kind of was what I was looking for because I needed a boost. I needed something. I needed some good years under my belt so that I could have, you know, the looks that I got once it came to my professional career. And I think Seton Hall did a good job of doing that for me, helping me out with that.
So already you were pretty determined that, or convinced, maybe would be a better word, that you were going to be a professional basketball player after you graduate,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. And when something happened to your twin sister, there's this sort of unspoken bond with twins, right? Did you
Yeah.
did you know that something happened before you got the info? Because sometimes it's like this strange thing that happens that one
Right.
twin knows what if something happens to the other.
Um, Actually, so that the night of the accident, I remember I think my mom had texted me saying something that happened to her. And yeah, there was this iffy feeling of like, I don't think this is just like, you know, just a regular accident where somebody might have just like just hit her a little bit. Like, no, it was like a full on accident where, you know, she broke both her legs, had some
Wow.
complications in other areas of her body. So it was just like, then once I got that final call, it was like, yeah, it's time for me to come home, you know?
Okay. Wow, this wasn't expecting that because this makes like our talk about basketball seem kind of irrelevant. When such thing happen, you just like
Yeah,
reevaluate everything, right?
exactly.
So the next question I had was actually about the schedule, about the Big East being lighter than
hmm
in the ACC, and
Yeah.
so that you could show more of your abilities. So I don't know if that's a good question at this moment. I hope it is.
No, yeah.
Okay.
Um, I want to see, let me see how I could put this. I think
Because
the
there's
Big East,
this, yeah, there's this schedule evaluator, and presumably according to this schedule evaluator, it was like
hmm
4 points easier
hmm
than the previous season at Virginia Tech. it was like a
Hmm.
12, then it was an 8, I think, something like that. So it wasn't
Right.
that big of a difference, but was it? Sorry for interrupting, just wanted
No,
to
you're fine.
clarify.
Um, I think with the Big East, it's just different. It's hard to explain. I don't know. It's kind of a thing where it's like you have to play in it, because I wouldn't say that necessarily the competition is like extremely, like so much easier than like playing in the ACC, because don't get me wrong, every game was a battle to win. Everybody was just as good as the next one. Especially when it came to like having to play UConn. So I think it was definitely different than the ACC, but I wouldn't say that, it was just extremely so much more easier than playing in the ACC.
Okay, get it. You said that you're a family person. Are you bringing some of the members of your family to Spain just to visit? So probably some of them never went, right? Never had the
Right.
chance to come here. So do you
Yeah.
plan on inviting some of them here?
Yes, my mom for sure. She actually just started the process of getting her passport just to come out here. So
Awesome.
yeah, and my twin sister, she can't stay away from me for too long, so she'll be out here soon too.
Cool. That's really cool. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you now about something different because uh, is it true that you will be going to Mongolia in the next couple of days, right?
Yeah, I actually leave tomorrow morning.
Okay, so it was like the last moment for us to do that actually. Okay,
Yes.
so thanks for finding the time. So
Yes.
you're representing the United States in the U23 free on free World Cup, right?
Yes.
So why did you not why maybe, but how did you get started with free on free basketball? Was it on the courts back in Blackwood when you were playing with the guys that you sort of thought that I'm kind of enjoying playing half court basketball because the players that I talk to who play free on free basketball,
Mhm.
sometimes they claim that they actually enjoy it more than regular basketball.
Yeah, I think 3-on-3 is definitely its own game in itself. Like it's so much different than 5-on-5. And yes, it does remind me a lot of playing street ball, like how I would outside with the guys. But to be completely honest, I didn't even know 3-on-3 was a thing up until um so when I got started playing 3-on-3, it was actually because the USA 3-on-3 like federation had asked Seton Hall to bring 4 players to come play along with some other colleges that they had asked to bring 4 players and play in like a tournament. And so we played in it. I did pretty well. And then they asked me to come back for an official training camp. And so after that, that's when I did my first 3-on-3 tournament in Chile. I played in Canada and in Hungary last summer. Oh, and Mongolia as well. So this will be my second
So
time
you've
playing in
been there.
Mongolia.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Um, but yeah, that's kind of just how my whole 3-on-3 journey has started.
And how does it feel to represent your country? Like, even though it's not like your discipline, meaning it's not 5-on-5 basketball, but it's still
Right.
representing your country, right? So
Yes.
how did it feel for the first time?
Um, Last summer when I first
Yeah.
started, it was great. I mean, I was just super excited to even just have the opportunity. And like I said, because it reminded me so much of like street ball, and the fact it's so free because it's only you and 2 other players on the court. You don't have a coach out there with you that's screaming at you the whole time. So you're really just free to kind of just play your game in a way. And I think 3-on-3 helped me get back to, the player that I remember myself to be, before college basketball and all that type of stuff. So I think, yeah, being able to start playing for 3-on-3 USA was a great thing for me.
When organized ball just spoiled your abilities, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And what's your function when you play 3-on-3 basketball? Are you like because there's always like the person like underneath the boards, there's somebody like in the middle, in between, and there's the playmaker, right? So more or less, I'm simplifying, but that's probably how it works. So what's your function when you play 3-on-3 basketball?
Um, I couldn't say that I'm really any specific one. I feel like I try and do just a little bit of everything. Because the game is so fast and because you're only playing with a 12-second shot clock, sometimes it's going to have to be me to make a play or to create my own basket, create my own looks for myself. And then there's other times where we have like sets that we learn where we're looking for something specific, and then I'm naturally a rebounder, so I'm always going to be under the basket, so
Yeah.
I try and do a little of everything.
And how does that influence your game of 5-on-5 basketball? Do you see any influences from the 3-on-3 basketball that you sort of try to implement when you're playing 5-on-5 basketball?
Yeah. I always said the biggest thing that I try to carry over from 3-on-3 is the defensive aspect of it, because you don't have a lot of help defense, or you don't have any, honestly. So you have to learn how to defend and stay in front of your player. And that's one thing that I feel like 3-on-3 has helped me with tremendously.
Okay, okay. So thank you for, I think I don't have any more questions. So thank you for finding the time to talk,
Yeah, for sure.
and all the best at the tournament. By the way, are you guys playing Poland as well, or not really? You don't even
I'm not
know.
sure.
You don't
Yeah.
care. You don't care about the competition. You're just there to just play your game and just dominate. Okay,
Yes.
totally get it. That's a good mindset to have, right?
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for a conversation,
No problem.
and all the best to you
Thank
and,
you
and
too.
your family, of course.
Thank you.